Hi, I'm Mike Handberger with Tricky Fast Studios. And in this series of videos, I'm showing you how to build an endless runner in Cat Game Builder. If you haven't seen the previous parts, you may want to go back and watch them. In those videos, we set up the scene, added the title screen, and made the character run. In this video, we will finish building the character's state machine and build a couple of hazards. So let's look over here. The next state to add is the dead state. In the dead state, we want to set a bool animation parameter, so we can change the animation. And then we want a delayed action. And under the delayed action, we want to change state. So for the bool animation parameter, we want to change to the dead state. And then we want to set the value to true and then revert on stop. So that when it's done with this state, it's going to go back to not being dead. So our delayed action, the duration is 2. We want to kind of just pause it in the dead state here. And then we can change back to the reset state to put everything back the way it was. That's it for the dead state. The next one's reset. Reset's a little more complicated. So in this state, we want to move everything back to the start. We want to make sure we reset the rotation and velocity. And then we want to reset the score. So we'll start with a move action. And then another move action. And then we want to add a rotate action. And under physics, we want to set angular velocity, set regular velocity. And then under values, we're going to set an integer value. So that's where we're going to set the score. And then finally, we want to change state back to ready. Okay, let's go through these. So with this move action, we want to move the bunny back to the start position. So we're going to have that as an absolute position. So we're going to set that to none. And then we're going to add the offset option. And for the offset, we're going to set that to negative 3.19. You can just use the starting position of the object. These will obviously be different for you. We want to make sure we have a duration of 0 and set it to duration, so that means it'll move instantly. Next thing we want to do is move the camera. Once again, we're going to set that to none for the destination, so it's absolute, and then set some values here. Again, duration of 0 and movement type of duration so that it's instant. And now we want to also rotate the bunny so that it's facing up just in case it rolls over. So that's that. We want to set the angular velocity also to 0. So these are just all zeros. Set the regular velocity to 0 as well. And finally, we want to set the score. So we're going to do owner, score, set it to 0. Then the last thing here is to change back to the ready state. So that's it. That's the state machine for the bunny. Next up, let's make a hazard. So in this level here, we have this hazards thing already. So let's make a water hazard. Create an empty game object, call it water. Add this water to it. We want to add a sprite renderer. And we want to add a box collider. 2D, of course. So for the sprite renderer, the sprite we want to set is the first water sprite. So the animator is all set up. For the collider, we want to make sure it's a trigger. Then we just want to set things here. All right. Let's look in the scene and find out where this water is. All right, let's put the water where it goes. One thing we're going to need to do here is set the order and layer to 2. Just to make sure it shows up. Let's just make sure our hitbox is good here. Don't want to make it too hard. Let's do that. Okay. Now that we've got the actual object set up, let's add a state machine. So we're just going to add actions directly because we don't need an extra state here. This is just going to always be active. It's always going to do the same thing. So first thing we want to do is add a collision trigger. And then under the collision trigger, or the triggered action, we want to add a play sound action. Okay. That's actually it. So for the collision trigger, the collide target is going to be the player. We are going to set it to be isTrigger. And then the play sound, we're going to play it on the owner. And the clip we're going to play is splash. We also want to keep playing after stop. That'll just keep the sound going until it's done and it doesn't keep this action running. That's it for our hazard. Let's make one more hazard though. Let's add a bear trap. That one's a little bit more complicated. So this time we'll just start by creating the state machine. We'll call it trap. And we want to add the trap animation to it. We also want to add a sprite renderer and a box collider. 2D again. So for the sprite renderer, we're going to set the trap to be that trap. We're also going to set the same level here. For the collider, we want it to be a trigger again. And then we'll just set these parameters. So that's that. Let's just move this one right over here for now. I don't think this is a great final place for it, but this will be a good way to just test it. So this state machine is going to be a little bit more complicated. So this trap is going to close up when you touch it. And then after that happens, we're going to have to reset it. So let's start by adding two states. First state is going to be default. And the second state is going to be triggered. In the default state, we want to add a collision trigger. Under the collision trigger, or under the triggered action, that is, we want to add a change state. Okay. So, collide target, player, isTrigger. And then the state name we want to go to is our triggered state. All right. Now let's set up the triggered state. In the triggered state, we want to set the Bool animation parameter to close the trap. We want to play a sound. We want to move the player into the trap. And then we want to listen for when the player goes back to the reset state. And then we want to also reset at that time. Okay. So set Bool animation parameter. The parameter we want to set here is triggered. And we want to set it to true, have it revert on stop. The clip here for the sound we want to play is this one. Again, we want to keep playing after stop. Move action. So this time we want to move the player. We want to move it to the owner, which is us, the trap. We want to just use an offset here. just to move it up a little bit. Let's set the duration to 0.2 seconds. And then over here, for our change state trigger, we're going to listen on the player. And we're going to listen for the reset state. And then we're going to change state on the owner back to default. One thing we need to do before we try these out is to make sure that we set the tag on these to hazard. That way the player will actually interact with them properly. The other thing we've got to make sure not to forget is to set the initial state on the trap. You want to set that to default. All right, now that that's done, let's give it a try. First, we're going to try falling into the water. Oh, there we go. And now we reset. Now let's try the trap. We're going to jump over the water and then get trapped. And then reset. Looks like it's working great. Now I'll leave it up to you to place these hazards throughout your level. So that's it for this video. In this video, you should have finished the state machine on the bunny and also created a couple different types of hazards for your player to run into. I hope you found this video informative and useful. For more information on Cat and how it can help you prototype and build games faster, please visit trickyfast.com/cat. I'm Mike Hanberger with TrickyFast Studios. Thanks for watching.